Hey folks, it's Scott of Scotty's Gun Works, and what I thought we'd do today is I thought we'd make another video. This is a recoil pad cutting video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps, the procedures that I use. I know I've made one in the past, a recoil cutting video, kind of free-handed. I think it was in that last one, and most of the time that's how I do them, but I've got it's called a B&R recoil cutting rig, and basically what it is, it's just a contraption that you just mark out the recoil pad and you put it on this rig and it just cuts it, and you ain't even got to have the stock involved, which that's a whole lot better than, you know, kind of cutting one with a nice finish on it, the stock, and then cutting into that finish, because then you got to redo the whole stock at that point. This right here just kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. I've had this contraption probably for 20 or 30 years. I got it from B&R years and years ago, and I hardly have ever used it. I do have a nice looking stock that's in really good shape. It's got a nice finish on it. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make a video using this thing, and I might try to incorporate it more into my future stock fitting. But I wanted to kind of make a video on it. It's called a B&R recoil rig. Really, it's a good contraption to have, you know, if you're cutting a lot of recoil pads. Takes a lot of the gambling out of it. When you're a gunsmith, that's what people do. They pay you to be the gambler. So if you mess it up, well, you got to eat it. But anyway, this kind of puts the odds of everything going in really good shape on your side. So anyway, I'm gonna walk you through the steps, you know, and show you how that's done and kind of introduce you to the product. All right, here is the instructions for the B&R Recoil Pad Jig. It says there's their address right there, along with their phone number. I guess that phone number might still be valid, but I know you can order this from B&R's. It's got all the directions here on there. I hope everybody can see that this page here, but I'm sure you can pull them up on online if you can't see it here. I just kind of want to get you familiar with it. But anyway, there are the steps that we're going to be going through. And you can see how that, you know, would take a lot of the guesswork out of it, a lot of the risk, because obviously, you know, it's not on the stock. You just put it on there and just hang it. It just grinds it out to the mark you make, because you got to scribe a mark there, as you can see. It's a scribe outline of stock, you know, on the bottom of that. Then you take some white chalk, and I'll go over all that too, you know, that way you can see it. And you just basically put it on this hanger, and then you just basically you know, make sure you set your contour, you know, to your stock, the pitch, and then you bring it over here and you just grind it on your disc sander. And it tells you how to hook it up and all that. Of course, there's your finished product. In about 15 minutes, it says. That's about right. I take a little more time with mine because I like to go over mine with a polisher, you know, things like that. But anyway, just kind of wanted to introduce the product. And what I've done here is the stock we're going to be putting the recoil pad on. It's a Pacmire recoil pad, and you can see it's got a really slick finish on it. So I'm going to scribe our line there. Basically what you want to do is you'll probably have to drill your holes, you know, if it doesn't mount up perfectly on the stock. And you just want to use common sense. You know, you want to make sure that, you know, you got enough material on each side. Make sure it's evened out. Make sure that when you put your stock on, or your recoil pad on there, that you're looking at it, and this line right here, you're going to have enough meat. So when you cut that, it'll go down straight. You know, you don't want to go down so far and it just flattens off. So you want to make sure that contour goes down. You want to make sure it's pushed down far enough. And you just want a little bit up here at the top. You don't need a lot of that. So I'm going to grind all that, because that scribe, I'm fixing to scribe out on here. I'm just going to follow that scribe. And, you know, it turns out really nice. Of course, that right there is our starting points. I'm going to put our scribe on there and take it off and put it on the hanger, and we'll just keep going through the steps here. I'll try to set the camera up where I'm actually drawing the scribe on there and kind of show you how that's done. I know You already know how to do that probably, but it's better to see it being done, and that way there ain't no mistaking it. But anyway, I'll set the camera up and we'll draw that scribe on there, and we'll just kind of keep chipping away at this until we got us a nice recoil pad on it. Nice shiny Browning 8.5 stock with fingerprints all over it. All right, I believe we're ready to cut our scribe in our recoil pad there. I got me a little box here made up with, you know, a little special scribe. I mean, nothing special about it. Got some chalk in there for the marking of that, and different screws for the hanger. And basically, all you do is you take your scribe. You want to make sure it's kind of a nice, sharp, thin scribe. And you just basically set your stock up like that, and you want to be real careful not to scratch your finish. Don't want to put a lot of pressure onto the wood because you don't want to bend it, but hope everybody can see that. And just basically, you know, let the wood be your template. And just go kind of light it first. If you get off, it don't matter because all that's going to be ground down anyway. But you want to try to make that as clean looking as you can. And you got to be real deep. I know you probably can't see everything I'm doing here because my hand's probably in the way, and we have no cameraman down here, so we'll just wing it. Kind of go over it a couple of times. There we go. I'm sure we'll be able to get that, make that work. Definitely won't go all the way around the bottom of the contour of the stock because you want to make sure that when you're grinding that, there's no guesswork involved. And you want to get that as straight as you can because you want that Packmeyer symbol to be nice and straight with the stock. So now what I'll do is I'll take it off, and then I'll show myself putting the chalk on there, and then I'll show myself putting it on the little hanging rig, and we'll go in there and cut it. All right, now I done took the pad off and then started putting the chalk on there. And basically all you do here, folks, you just take and just kind of fill that little mark you made with that scribe in with chalk. Just so you can see it. It ain't got to be nothing real spectacular, you know, as far as a real thick line. You just basically want a hint of a line there, so when you go to cut that, you're kind of taking the guesswork out of it. Just follow the line. And I done put one of the screws in there. It's going to hold it on the bottom of this rig right here. Let me point this out too. I believe this contraption set up mostly for Packmeyer recoil pads. And the reason why I say it is because it's set up with their screw pattern. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't use it that much, because I think if you put another recoil pad on here from another company, it won't mount up. So I just never really got in the habit of using it. But everybody can see that. I always put a little, this ain't nothing in here but dishwashing liquid, a little water to make like a lube. So when you go to put the screws and everything in there, you won't damage the pad. Oh, little drama here to go with it. So basically you just want to make sure you put that mounting screw in there like that. Push that through. And of course you want to put this right here on right. Your pitch should be the bottom one, the one that's moving. The bottom one. Everybody, good look at that. That way everybody can see that. Pitch meaning the bottom of the stock, the bottom of the recoil pad. Don't accidentally put it on upside down. Get the pitch on the wrong end. That wouldn't be good. You just basically take these screws and screw them into the rig. see. I know it mounts it to it. Sometimes some of these little rigs can be a little challenging, but you know what? A whole lot better to go through a little challenges on this end than just try to redo that whole stock, because you cut into that with finish. There we go. And of course I got the lube on the end of this screwdriver here where I don't damage the pad. That's the main thing. That's one of the important things to remember. You don't want to, you know, you want that to have a clean look on this end right here. When it's all said and done, you won't be able to see any big holes in there or anything. Basically all you do, and I should have went over this in the video, you just take a drill bit that's the same exact size as these holes under here. You push it through until it mushrooms up at the top. Take a razor blade and cut little slots in. That's all you do. And then when they go together, you can't see them, of course. But anyway, and you just basically want to snug everything down. I can still see my line real good. Don't never hurt to go ahead and refresh it once you handle it a lot like you've been doing here to get them screws in there. It won't be difficult. Everybody can see what I'm doing. And you know, you don't have to blow all that powder off if you don't want to. Anyway, the next step is to set the pitch. So everybody can see. And what I do is, the top of that's nice and straight. I just butt the bottom of the recoil pad up to the bottom of the stock here. And let that guide right there be the same pitch as that right there. Because it's adjustable. I'll always cut the bottom half first. I have seen situations where I would cut the bottom half and then I would come in here and I'd reset the pitch for the top, because sometimes if you cut the bottom half, the top's going to have a little bit of a slope. Not much, but enough to where I don't like it. So I always come in here, you know, and go that extra mile and reset the pitch for the top. But we'll just have to look at it. I'll just kind of look at the thing and just make sure it's good and flat on the bottom of the stock, like so. Okay. Make sure it's good and thumb tightened. And there's our pitch. Now we'll go in here and we'll hang it and we'll start grinding it. And hopefully here in a few minutes we'll have a nice cut on this recoil pad. All right, here we are in the room where we've got our disc sander set up, and you can see how that thing here kind of works. Just mount it on your disc sander like so. Make sure it kind of hangs free, about an inch from the sander, the top of the line there. And I use this right here kind of as a guide post too, to kind of guide the back of that with the back of that. And you just have to use common sense with it. Of course, the pitch is going to be the same as that right there. The closer you get into it, the more horizontal it'll be with that and with that. We'll go ahead and start the grinding. I got my dust mask here, because you definitely want to wear a dust mask for this, because I mean, it just throws that little dusty stuff up all over the place. So I'm going to put that on. Try not to sound too muffled. We'll go ahead and get to grinding, and just kind of basically just right before the white line is where you stop. Basically use common sense with it, keep an eye on everything. Get the fingers out of the way. Don't put a lot of pressure on it, just keep it light. I always go about halfway, about right here. I don't always do that part last.
Right up to the line. Take it off, kind of look at it. You can see how nice and contour that is. So far, so good. Go really light with it. The finishing touch, you go really light. Give a smooth touch. Right up to that line. What I'm going to do, I always like to cut this part last. I'm going to go back in there at the bench, and I'm going to make sure that contour is going to be the same. I'm going to set this up here. While ago I set the bottom contour. I'm going to double check everything before I get completely finished with it. And I'm going to set the contour at the top to make sure that it's going to be the same, because I don't want a pitch like that at the top, you know. We want that pitch here to stay like that. With that right there, and we want that up there to be like that right there. So I'm going to go in there and kind of just double check. And I'll be back in here in a minute to finish it up. Alright, I went back in there and I set the contour at the top. Now at this point here, I don't touch that right there no more. Because that's already set. Just kind of from this point here, you know, up. Right about the side, just go right up to the line, nice light touch. Nice and light. up to the line. Don't go past the line. Don't make the line disappear. You just come right up to it. There we go, folks. That looks great. Now we'll go in there, we'll kind of clean it up a little bit, polish it. I like to polish mine. Maybe hit it with a little sandpaper, just kind of, make sure it's good smooth. Polish it up with a polishing wheel. You ain't got to do that, but I like to. Then we'll put it on there and we'll see what it looks like.
All right, folks. I took it off, and I'm just kind of dressing it out a little bit. That's kind of sort of what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. You see the contours cut nice. And now what I like to do is I'll take me some sandpaper, kind of smooth up the plastic part of that. Where y'all can see that. Stay on the plastic part, and then just kind of buff over the rubber part of it as well, and that'll take care of any little lines that the sander might have put in that. That's what's important, that when you're making them final cuts right up to that line, you want to go real light. You don't want to go hard. Just let it, just barely kiss it. Kiss, good word for that. And that'll keep them little horizontal lines. You can see they're there. They're always going to be there, but it'll take them down to a minimum. The lighter you go with that, then you can just kind of fine tune with some sandpaper at about 220 here. Just kind of, buffing it out a little bit like I would if I was freehanding it. By the time you put some oil on that, that'll all blend in anyway, so. Some steel wool. Basically all we're doing at this point, we're just kind of cleaning it up, giving it that professional look, I guess. And I'll throw this tip in too, a lot of times people say, well, you know what, I got to be careful, I don't want to mess it up. And yeah, we don't want to mess nothing up. But if you're going to do this for a living, as a career, the way I look at it, I could probably mess 30 or 40 of these up and still come out a whole lot cheaper than paying a tuition to a college. So that's how I kind of learn. I mean, I don't know, I've just always been one of the people, hands-on training kind of thing. Give me an idea, show me kind of sort of how it's done, and we'll figure it out kind of thing. But the Lord leads and guides me anyway, so to God be all the glory. That's kind of what you do there. Just kind of get all them little tool marks out of that. Cleaning it up with steel wool as you go. The steel wool will reveal any kind of tool marks that might be left behind. So, don't be afraid to mess up. Try not to mess somebody's stock up. But when it comes to stuff like this right here, you can pick up another recoil pad, and just, that's the only way you're going to get good at it. It's just keep practicing at it. Of course, you got those jigs like we just used, that really helps out things a lot. Puts the odds on your side. I can see that a few little lines right there, not much to speak of. Just kind of get rid of them. I kind of get it with that steel wool. Steel wool sandpaper, I'm sorry. Steel wool brings out the lines where you can see them. And you can probably get some 400 sandpaper and kind of go over the piece right here. And hit it with the steel wool. This right here is just kind of a matter of preference. I mean, it just really depends on the person, how they want to go about, finishing it. But obviously, the deeper the grit sandpaper, 80 grit, 60 grit, you know, going to have more deep marks you got to sand out. So at this point here, and I think that wheel in there is about a about 120 grit, something like that. And it's kind of a fine wheel. And I kind of try to use that on nothing but recoil pads. That way I can avoid all them deep cuts, you know, in the plastic. It's a little bit easier to finish. Let's set this up where I can show everybody and see what's going on. I got the camera turned around, so if you see any words or anything that looks backwards, that's the reason. Yeah, it's cleaning up nice. What I'll do is I'll just go on and keep cleaning it up, then we'll put it on the stock and we'll see what the finished product looks like. All right, there is a finished product there. Contour and everything all cut nice, and contour with the top of the stock and contour with the bottom, or pitch, whatever you want to call that. Contour is what I like to call it. But anyway, that's nice and lined up with everything. Nice and just maybe just barely sticking out just a little bit. Not much to speak of at all. That's because we didn't make the line disappear. And they recommend that you don't do that. It's always good to leave just a little bit, just leave it a little bit proud maybe. But anyway, that turns out really nice. It didn't really take that long at all to do that. Didn't have to worry about taking a chance and cutting into that nice finish right there on that stock. Browning A5, really good shape. Just kind of wanted to shorten that down, or not really shorten it, but just extend it. Didn't want it too real long, just wanted to kind of knock that curve off and put that on there and shape that out. And just took a lot of the guesswork out using that grinding jig that we have in there. As you've seen how it worked, it's pretty simple. Took a little bit of the gambling out of it. There's our finished product. Using the B&R Recoil Pad jig. And there's their address and there's a phone number. Again, I don't know if that's a valid number or not. Of course, I ordered mine from Brownells, you know, years and years ago. I think it's a really good product for someone who does this quite a bit. All right, folks, another video done here at Scotty's Gun Works, featuring the B&R Recoil Pad cutting rig. You've seen how easy it was to use. I really like it because it's just takes all the guesswork, all the risk, I should say, out of the job that you might be doing concerning a recoil pad. You know, as you've seen how it works, you don't even put it on the stock. You just basically set your contour or your pitch, and you just let the machine do the cutting. You just have to take it easy and just make sure you don't cut in too deep. They recommend that you don't go to the line, or you don't go past the line, the white line that you put on there with that chalk. A fairly easy machine to use, or rig to use. I believe my customer really liked this. Mike, who owns this gun, we'll give him a big shout out. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty easy tool to use. I'm really pleased with it. If you have any questions or anything concerning any of the tools I use around here, the techniques I might use, feel free to give me a call. Area code 615-746-9668. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. If I don't pick up, leave me a message and I'll return your call. And as usual, I appreciate everybody watching these videos. All right, the man that just owns the gun came in. I thought I'd go ahead and feature him in this video here since we hadn't got it up on YouTube yet. What do you think about it, Mike?
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. You've done a great job as always.
Well, man, I appreciate you letting me do that. We'll have this on the old YouTube channel. This will be a little bonus here. And as usual, I appreciate everybody watching these videos.